Alright, welcome to my guide on how to complete every single combat mastery achievement. Today we'll be covering the hard achievements, and there's a lot to cover, so I'll try to not talk too much. I tried my best to keep this video as organized as possible and to not miss any achievements. I've had a bit of a tricky time navigating the in-game UI to keep track of achievements. There's not a lot of good filtering options to see the tasks per tier, per boss. I also had max rune score before this update came out, so filtering those tasks that I had previously completed that converted into combat achievements was also tricky. For those achievements though, I've recompleted them today to demonstrate in this video, but they won't give an achievement pop-up. Just a heads up if that catches you off guard, they are still being completed properly. Anyway, I did my best and meticulously timestamped everything by boss in the description below. So I wish you luck, hope you enjoyed the video, and also have fun with the tasks. In this video, I'll be making a good faith attempt to use gear fitting for a player who'd find themselves in the hard tier of combat achievements. In this case, I'm using my Death Dealer robes and tier 90 necromancy weapons, and I'm using unaugmented tier 70 God Wars Dungeon 1 armor. Bandos armor, Armadillo, and subjugation armors. I'm using a tier 85 Mizuyari spear for melee and the Corporeal Beast, a tier 87 decimation and tier 87 obliteration for ranged and magic, and I'm using a lot of the same support items from the previous tiers that are completely free, like the Toggle Zoe, Dragon Rider Amulet, Salve Amulet, and Enhanced Excalibur. I allowed myself to upgrade to a Scripture of a Masket for this tier, which is also very cheap. And I am using a Zuck cape, which may be contentious, if you're a noob. Let's get into the achievements now. Starting off with the Glacor. So all we need for this one is to get a sub 3 minute normal mode kill and have all mechanics enabled in normal mode. So once we enter the instance, go ahead and summon your conjures, do an invoke death, you can life transfer if you want, command your ghost, command your skeleton, and we'll go into a target cycle. Death Skulls. Looks like I got minions first, so I'll do some threads, maybe a weapon spec on those guys, and get back on the boss. And now, since I wasted my Death Skulls already, I'm just going to be building back up with my basic abilities. I'll make sure to reapply Bloat at some point. I also have to switch my prayers mid-fight as this is the first combat achievement of the day. So I'm just waiting until I get a favorable spec, and I got a really good spec here with Flurry. Gives me the most time to do damage, so I'll go right into my Living Death, A-Pot, Touch of Death into Death Skulls, and start just using my Necrosis stacks as best as I can. So once I get to 6 stacks, I'll use Fingers, and in between, I'll just use auto attacks. If I wanted to speed this up more, I could have used Split Soul as well, but looks like I'll be just fine. There we go, we still got it before the third mechanic, and that is all the hard Glacor normal mode achievements. Next up, we've got Zilyana, so we need to get a sub 30 second kill in normal mode, a sub 115 in hard mode, and while we're in hard mode, we'll need to avoid lightning for 1 kill, and for another kill, we'll need to kill the boss using Sunshine, and also being attacked by her lightning. So starting off with the hard mode kill, I'm going to be avoiding lightning and trying to get the record kill. So I'll summon my conjures, go right into a Living Death and A-Pot, make sure that I've got Invoke Death, and then start attacking Zilyana. I'll start using my Necrosis abilities to the best of my ability, get a Death Skulls if I can, and that'll clear the first phase. Now Zilyana is going to regenerate for a few seconds, so I can take this time and clear the minions and also get some more stacks. And you do have to kill Zilyana using an ultimate ability in hard mode. So I want to make sure that the last hit I do on her is going to be a Death Skulls. And there you have it. There's the hard mode speed kill. I actually did not manage to avoid lightning in this kill, so I'll have to do one more kill. And this time I'll just try and be more careful, run around in circles around the arena while still doing abilities. And same as before, since it's hard mode, you have to finish off the second phase with the damage from an ultimate ability, so I want to make sure that my last hit is from a Death Skulls. For the Sunshine achievement, we're going to be using magic, and I'll start with like a detonate and then just build back up with a couple of basics. Don't really need to do anything fancy in the first phase, you can just use a few thresholds. It's only 50,000 HP. And in the second phase is where we're going to want to save our Sunshine for. So Just use this first phase however you think is fit. I ended up using a Tsunami there, that way I have a little bit of crit buff for the second phase. Not a super huge deal, but now that the second phase has started, I'll do a couple abilities to get some damage, and you can see how much damage we take when we're tanking through the lightning. So make sure you get your Sunshine up, have a lot of HP, and just start doing your best damage. Wait until you get the lightning. Wait until you see your HP draining. That way you know for sure you're under the effects of lightning. And when you kill the boss, you've got the feats done. On to General Graardor. So we're going to need a sub 15 second normal mode, a sub 45 second hard mode, and while we're in hard mode, we want to avoid his 3 main attacks. So we want to avoid his Reflect attack, his Graardor smash attack, and his Frenzy attack. Should be relatively simple. As long as we're running around the room and doing a relatively speedy kill, we'll get through all of those achievements in 1 kill. As is the MO with Necromancy, enter the instance, summon your Conjures, invoke death. I'll use Split Soul for this, command my skeleton, and then go into Death Skulls, Bloat. I'll do Touch of Death, Finger of Death, and end with a weapon special attack. That should be enough to do 100,000 damage. And there you have it, that completes the speed kill, and we got none of the unique mechanics, so we skipped all of those. And that completes all of the achievements. For Kree'arra, we're going to want to get a sub 36 normal mode kill and a sub 60 second hard mode kill. And we're also going to want to avoid the Vortex attack in hard mode, which will be really easy to do since we're getting a sub 60 second kill. The Vortex only happens if you allow Kree'arra to keep attacking for a really long time. It's kind of the special ultimate ability that Kree'arra will do, but we're not even going to see it in this fight. So just as we've been doing, enter the instance, summon your Conjures, life transfer if you want, Split Soul, invoke death, into Death Skulls, can do a Bloat, then a Touch of Death, Finger of Death, and weapon special attack should get the job done. We got hit by none of the vortexes, and we got all the speed achievements there, so there is Kree'arra completed for the hard tier. On to Tsustaroth, we're going to need a sub 24 second normal mode kill, a sub 45 second hard mode kill. We want to avoid the smash in hard mode and avoid the charge, also in hard mode. Similar to Graardor, if our kill is fast enough, we won't even see either of those mechanics. Enter the instance, and since it's Krill, I always like to recharge my prayer at the altar first, since you get drained upon entering the Zamorak area. Summon the Conjures, invoke death, Split Soul, Death Skulls on the boss, Bloat, Touch of Death, Finger of Death, and weapon special attack. And there you have it. It really is as easy as that for the God Wars bosses. Next up is the Corporeal Beast, and for this one we're going to want to get a 30-second kill as well as a kill with a Bronze Spear. So starting with the 30-second kill, we're using our Bandos armor and our Mizuari. All we're going to do is use Berserk, use Barge, and just do our best abilities. So enter the instance, you can wait a few seconds, that way you don't Zerk too early. Zerking a little early is fine. I'm going to grab a Divert if I can, Barge, Assault, and just start using your best abilities. I'm going to do Sever, Cleave, Chaos Roar, into Overpower. I actually signed there, but that's fine. We still have plenty of time to spare to get a sub 30-second kill. And there we go, 16.2. That's the power of the Mizuari. A nice and cheap weapon, but very effective at the Corp. Alright, here is Corporeal Beast with a Bronze Spear. Couple things you may want to consider. If you have access to Scrimshaws of Vampirism, it'll probably make this kill a whole lot easier. And if you had access to an Essence of Finality with a Statius Warhammer in it, that will also speed up this kill drastically. For the sake of this demonstration though, I will not be using the Statius Warhammer. Just make sure that you start a private instance set to 1. We're going to be relying a lot on poison damage, and just going slow and steady. So accuracy is going to be the name of the game. Start with a Quake if you can. And then we'll go into a Berserk. Trying to Soul Split Flick a little bit. And just trying to do the best abilities we can do with the Spear. You can see we really don't do a whole lot of damage at once. But we can start walking a bleed now that our Zerk is finished. Surviving is also a pretty tricky thing with this task, so when you can grab him, grab a resonance. When the core spawns, I'll try and use devotion and get an extension of my devotion. You can also use Chaos Roar, Ingenuity the humans into an overpower, and that'll do a good amount of damage there. That was like a little over 8,000 it looked like. Can walk another bleed. Haven't seen the core yet though. There he is. So I'll just target the core a little bit, get a devotion, and try and kill him with AoEs here. That'll just give us a little bit extra time on that devotion. A little bit of extra time not taking too much damage. So after this assault, I'll build back up again to a Zerk, and we'll get another Zerk on the boss. Also probably divert here, can't hurt. Get my barge off. I actually didn't manage my cooldowns well, so I don't get a barge bleed there. We'll still be fine though, chomping through our food. We'll do another Chaos Roar and Overpower. Not quite as good that time. Walk another Slaughter. Try and get a Devotion. We're getting there, slowly but surely. And we can end it with an Overpower. Slow but steady is the name of the game for that Corp achievement. For the Queen Black Dragon, we're going to want to get a sub 1 minute 30 kill. We're going to want to avoid fire waves throughout the kill. And we're going to want to survive the time freeze special attack. The way we'll do that is simply by killing the ghost before time freeze ever happens. So enter the instance, summon your Condors, and just start killing QBD as fast as you can. We're going to want to get to the final phase as quickly as possible. I like to start with the Death Skulls on the first phase, and then Bloat for the second phase. And during the second phase, while my Bloat is going off, I'll just build my stacks for the third phase. So just getting a bunch of Soul stacks, getting a bunch of Necrosis stacks, and maybe I'll also command my Skeleton during this phase. Now once we get to the fourth phase, we're just going to have to wait until we get the time freeze ghost to spawn. When he does spawn, we'll just want to kill him, and then after we kill QBD, that'll complete that achievement. In the meantime, we'll also want to try and avoid firewalls as best as we can. There we go, the ghost is spawned, we can quickly kill him, and then quickly kill QBD. There you go, there's all the QBD achievements done and dusted. Moving on to the Legions, we're going to want to get a sub 18 second kill. We want to kill all 6 of the Legions without banking, so staying in the dungeon at all times, and we want to defeat all 6 Legions without moving. Lastly, we want to get a kill where we avoid all of the lightning hits. So let's start by getting that sub 18 kill and also avoiding the lightning. I like to do Secundus as I think it's the easiest of the 6 Legions. Enter the instance. I like to start with Deadshot. You can vuln the boss. You can get a corruption shot on him. And then any of your best abilities. In this case, I did Gricko, Dazing Shot, and you can finish with Snapshot. And so long as you're running around the room, you'll be able to avoid the lightning easily. So good amount of time to spare on that achievement as well. Now for the achievement where we kill all 6 legions without banking, we're going to combo that where we kill all 6 legions without moving. Now this achievement doesn't start until you first attack the boss. You'll notice that when you enter this instance, you can't even attack the boss if you were to stand still as soon as you entered. There's just not enough range. So as long as you're not attacking the boss, you won't start the feat. The best way to approach this is to get as close to the boss as you can, then attack them, then use either Devotion or Barricade, and kill the boss in the duration of your Devotion or Barricade. I brought dummies along with me, that way I can build back up my adrenaline, since I'm not allowed to bank for this challenge. And now that I'm 100% adrenaline, I have confidence that I have my Barricade, and if I really want to play carefully, I'll wait for the cooldown of my Devotion to come back. Alright, now my Devotion is off cooldown, so enter the instance, Bladed Dive as close to the boss as you can, and then do one of those 2 big defensive abilities. I'm going for a Barricade here, as Quintus is probably the most annoying one with these laser lines. But as you can see, we can kill it really fast, even in the duration of our Barricade. And although the legions have slightly different mechanics, the way we're going to be handling this challenge is essentially going to be the same for all of them. I'll place my dummy again in between kills, build back up some adrenaline, and wait out my cooldowns. Then when I enter the instance, Bladed Dive as close to the boss as possible, Devotion or Barricade, and try and use my best abilities. Rapid Fire, Corruption Blast, Greater Ricochet, Snapshot, maybe even Deadshot with the Zuck Cape. The nice thing about this combat achievement, since you're not allowed to bank, you get to take in all the scenic views of the Ascension dungeon. It does actually look pretty cool, especially with the Aurora skybox filter, if I do say so myself. But just making our way through the dungeon. Enter the instance, dive to the boss. I'll do an ability first and then Devotion. I'll do a Rapid Fire, and I think I'll probably kill it just with my Rapid Fire since I got a Scripture proc. Tertius can arguably be one of the scarier ones, maybe this one in Quintus. If you don't kill it fast enough, the minions that this boss will summon can put a damage cap on the damage that the player can do to the boss, so it can make it pretty sketchy when going for this standing still achievement. But enter the instance, dive to the boss. I'm gonna opt for a Barricade this time around. And I'm actually not doing very good damage already. I've probably picked some of my worst abilities. My Barricade's gonna run out, but I can just Sigil and use Devotion, and we're fine still. Just one boss left to go. So here's the Primus instance. It's another instance where if the challenge was just standing still as soon as you enter the instance, you wouldn't even have the range to attack the boss. So perfectly fine to Bladed Dive up next to the boss and use your defensives. It will still track, and that should complete all of the Legion achievements for you. For Vorkath, we're going to want to get a sub 5 minute 30 kill in normal mode, and at the start we're going to want to ignore the ritual zombies. So let's get this fight started. Unlike in hard mode, we have a little gimmick section where we have to kill some ritual zombies. Normally there's 3, but we can just skip to the final one. That will save us a lot of time and also complete us that other combat achievement. So once we get to the zombie, use Invoke Death on him, put your conjures to work, use the command abilities. You can even use Threads of Fate here to get some big soul stacks. Do like Soul Sap, Volley, Soul Sap. And once we kill him, simply click on the beam to start the Vorkath portion of the fight. If you've done that, you should be eligible for the achievements. As long as we get a sub 5 minute 30 kill, we'll be good to go. So since I used Death Culls on that ritual zombie, I won't have it for the start of this fight, instead I'll just have to use my basics to build up to Living Death. Living Death and A-Pot when I can, and then just do the classic Necromancy thing. Touch of Death into Death Skulls, and then spam Necrosis abilities. Auto until you have 6 stacks, Finger at 6, and then keep autoing after that. Auto, 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 Finger. Auto, 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 Finger. And Death Skulls when it's available, and that's how we do a very simple Living Death rotation. Once Living Death runs out, like to start going for the Soul Stack route, building Soul Stacks, and using Volley whenever I have my max stacks. Making sure to keep Bloat refreshed, that's one of our most powerful Necromancy abilities. And also making sure that I keep my Condors active, so anytime you see the Command Skeleton is available, definitely good to use that ability. Does a ton of damage. Once Vorkath takes flight, hit the action button, and start targeting Zemmoregal. I don't think we'll be able to get a Zemmoregal flight skip with this gear, but we should be able to do some good damage on him nonetheless. Using Split Soul will probably help a lot with that. Once Vorkath lands back on the ground, start focusing your attention towards him again. And just do as we were doing before. Alternate between your Necrosis stacks and your Soul stacks. Use a weapon special attack if you have it available. And just keep cycling through the Necromancy combat loop. Activate your Conjures whenever you see that the command abilities are ready. I'm going to be trying to kill Vorkath without using my ultimate Living Death. That way I can save my Living Death for the final push of Zemmoregal. I'll have to refresh my Conjures here. Making sure to use the action button that fires the Ballista and just gives you a free 10k damage hit every time that's off cooldown. Once you kill Vorkath, we can focus our attention on Zemmoregal, and since we did a good amount of damage in that first portion, this part will be a breeze. Just doing our best abilities, get a weapon spec off, get a bloat, split soul if I had it, and kill the boss. In the hard tier, there's a ton of leeway. All we had to do was get a sub 530 kill, and as you can see, we got a sub 330. On to God Wars Dungeon 2, starting with Helwyr. We want to get a sub 230 minute kill in hard mode. We want to kill the boss while 4 minions are still alive. We want to avoid the Thrash attack, and we want to avoid the Nature's Blessing Mushroom Blast attack. Let's start with the kill where we kill the boss while still having 4 wolves alive. We're going to have to AFK for a lot of this fight, as he summons wolves late into his attack cycle. He's going to do the big melee slam, the frenzy attack, and then he'll summon some wolves. So we have to do 2 full cycles of his attack rotation. As you can see, he's summoned wolves now. He'll do the Nature's Blessing attack, and this is the attack that we want to avoid if we want that other achievement. Normally our kill would be fast enough that we wouldn't even see this attack, but for this wolf achievement, we will see this attack once. Now just restarting the attack rotation, we can Resonance for the big slam, Devotion for the frenzy attack, and just try and keep our damage low. We really don't have to do a whole lot with Necromancy. It would be very easy to overkill the boss if we're trying to use our best abilities. Once he summons the 4th wolves, now you can kill the boss. Make sure that you don't use Death Skulls, as you don't want to accidentally kill one of the wolves. Just use your other abilities, like your Touch of Death and your weapon special attack. Now for the hard mode kill. Summon your Conjures, invoke Death, command your Ghost, command your Skeleton. I'm going to start with the Death Skulls on this fight, and then bloat when I can. Should Resonance the melee slam, as in hard mode it will knock off your prayer and do damage through your prayer. But most importantly right now, we want to avoid the frenzy attack. So best way to do that is know that the frenzy attack is coming after the melee slam, and we just want to bladed dive far away. So that way he's doing his melee slam in the middle of the arena and we're far off in the corner. Afterwards, we'll just start doing our best damage. Still in our Living Death. We're in our Living Death now, so all of our finger attacks are doing extra damage. And if the kill is going slowly, we'll have to navigate alongside the mushrooms, but we'll kill it in plenty of time that we won't even have to worry about the mushroom blasts. And there you go, there's all the Helwyr hard achievements completed. Moving on to Gregorovic, we're going to want to get a sub 1 minute 9 second normal mode kill, a sub 230 minute hard mode kill. We do not want to damage spirits during one kill, and we want to do a second kill where we do not let him absorb any spirits. So just enter the instance, summon your conjures, do your invoke death, and start doing your best damage. Death Skulls, Touch of Death, Soul Sap, building those stacks, using bloat, and once you have a lot of stacks, firing off all of those stacks. Using those conjure abilities, and ignoring the spirit if possible, that way we don't do damage to the spirit. In hard mode, once Gregorovic dies, you go into this gimmick phase where you turn into a shadow of Gregorovic, and you have to kill the shadows of other adventurers. So the way you'll want to do that is to position yourself in a way that lures more of these enemies closer to each other. When you attack one enemy, you'll shoot out this glaive, and the glaive will bounce one time to another enemy nearby. So you want to prioritize hitting higher HP targets, and also targets that are close to another target. That way you'll just get through this section a little faster. Afterwards, Gregorovic will stand back up, recharge with some more HP, and will continue the fight as you would normally. Following this, we got our speed kill with plenty of time to spare. Really don't have to overthink things with Necromancy. Now I have to do a normal mode kill where I don't let Gregorovic absorb any of the spirits. So if I see any of the spirits spawn, I want to shift my focus quickly and kill the spirit before it touches Gregorovic. Other than that, it is a kill as normal, and once you've completed that, that is all the Gregorovic hard achievements done. Next up is Twin Furies. We'll want to get a sub 48 second normal mode kill and a sub 1 minute hard mode kill. We also want to kill the Twin Furies without damaging them during their channel attack. The channel attack is their last special attack in the attack rotation, and will kill the boss well before we even see that special attack. So we'll get that achievement by default. Starting off with the normal mode speed kill, going for a sub 48 second kill, enter the instance, get your conjures, invoke death, command your ghost, command your skeleton, and start with the death skulls as that'll bounce to both of these guys, doing a ton of damage. After the death skulls is finished, we'll want to be building up our adrenaline up to 100%, and once we got 100%, the blue twin will be just about finished jumping, so we can use our living death, touch of death, death skulls, and the death skulls will start bouncing again between the two of them, doing a ton of damage and getting us a really fast kill for very little effort. In hard mode, we'll take a similar approach, enter the instance, summon our conjures, invoke death, command ghost, death skulls at the start. That'll bounce between the two of them. We have 100,000 HP more to do in hard mode than normal mode, but that won't be a problem. We can use split soul. That'll do a lot of damage, especially while bloat is active. Building up some stacks, and just using some basics to build up some adrenaline. Whenever the two are close again, we can use Threads of Fate and use some big hitting abilities like 3-stack volley, Finger of Death, and even weapon special attack. And that'll do a lot of damage as it's hitting both targets, both of which contribute to bringing down that 300k boss bar. If the red one jumps, shift your focus over to the blue one, but run over nearby to the red one so you're not standing out in that acidic rain. And as you see, we'll kill the boss well before we even get the channeling ability. So we get that achievement by default as well. And there you go, there's all the Twin Furies achievements done and dusted. Vindicta. We want to get a sub 45 second normal mode kill, a sub 3 minute 30 hard mode kill, and we want to defeat the boss with a charged Dragonfire Shield. There's also another achievement for prayer flicking phase 2 properly. In phase 2, you'll get a melee attack, followed by a ranged attack, followed by a melee attack. So long as you can remember that, melee, range, melee, you can prayer flick accordingly, and you'll get yourself a free hard achievement. Starting off with hard mode, it is a bit of a long fight, but it's nothing necromancy can't handle. Enter the instance, summon your conjures, invoke death, command your ghost, command your skeleton, start with the death skulls, go to a bloat, and start building up with your basics. Build up to a living death in a pot, touch of death, death skulls, and time to start blasting away with necromancy. I've been repeating these instructions a lot, but there really isn't a whole lot to do with necromancy. It's pretty simple once you understand the basics of it. So carry on with your living death, just doing those necrosis abilities, basic attack 3 times until you get 6 stacks, finger of death once you got 6 stacks. Anytime you see death skulls is available, make sure you use your death skulls. We can typically get 3 death skulls in the duration of our living death. And once we kill the boss, the first 300k HP of the boss, it will just be the dragon, and it will only do melee attacks from here on out. So make sure you're praying melee. We won't have living death, and it likely won't come back off cooldown anytime soon before the kill finishes. So we're just going to be trying to do our best with our highest hitting abilities outside of an ultimate. So making sure to use command skeleton every time we see that available. You should refresh Vuln as well if you think about it. Bloat is extremely strong. And just juggling those soul stacks, juggling those necrosis stacks with touch of death. Finger of death every time it's available. 3 stack volley every time that's available. And weapon special attack every time that's available. And so long as you're praying the right thing, have some jellyfish in your inventory, the ghost will carry you. Should be another simple achievement in the hard tier. Now for the Dragonfire Shield challenge, you can do the kill as normal and then equip a Dragonfire Shield at the last second. And that will register that you've killed the boss with the Dragonfire Shield equipped, which is all the achievement asks. But just to demonstrate, I'll kill Vindicta while camping the shield the whole time. And it's really not that much different from any normal necromancy kill. I'll summon my conjures first before equipping the shield, but after that I'll do everything essentially the same. The only difference is I won't have access to soul abilities, so I can't use soul sap or volley, but that's fine. Under my living death, I'm only focused on necrosis stacks anyway, and that's more than enough to get the job done. Next, we want to get a sub 3 minute kill in a solo. We want to kill the boss with each of the Nihil familiars, so you'll have to do 4 kills for this. 1 with a Shadow Nihil, 1 with a Blood Nihil, 1 with a Smoke Nihil, and 1 with an Ice Nihil. I'm not going to show a separate kill for each of those because nothing mechanically changes. It's just which familiar you bring along. Mechanically, we want to avoid the drag attack in the first phase. We want to avoid shadows under our feet in the second phase. And in the fourth phase, we want to avoid the contain this attack as well as the ice prison attack. So I'm going to show you how to do all of those, and may take a few attempts. Summon your conjures and start the boss off with the death skulls. The easiest way to avoid the drag attack is just to use anticipation at any point during the phase. Once the phase is complete, turn our attentions to Fumus. All of the minions, the best way to clear them with necromancy is to use bloat as the first ability, and then just use any other basics to finish. Now it'll change to shadow phase. The thing we want to look out for in this phase is the shadows underneath our feet. So anytime you see next say fear the shadow, you want to move a few tiles away. So long as you don't get hit by the shadow underneath your feet, you'll be good to go. That's another achievement completed. Blood phase will kill the minion, turn our attention to Nex, and after she does her siphon animation, we can start doing some big hitting abilities like Finger of Death and weapon special attack if you need it. Now this is the tricky part. Since we want to avoid the Contain This and the Ice Prison in the next phase, we want to phase in such a way that we can predict the next special attacks coming. So easiest way to do that is to phase after you see your character turning red. That way the first special attack of the next phase will always be a Contain This attack. We also are going to want to kill the ice phase as fast as possible. That way Nex won't even have a chance to use her next special attack, which would be a prison special. I found it was helpful to have Split Soul up for this part. That way I can kill Nex and the minion a little bit quicker. I used a couple Finger of Deaths on Nex that brought her down to 40k, and I had my 3 stacks ready to go so that I could bloat and 3-stack volley Glacies, essentially insta-killing him, and then I could phase Nex right away well before she even had a chance to do an Ice Prison attack. This took about 12 minutes, as you can see from my aura timer, so it took a few attempts to get right. But once you get the phasing timing down, phasing after you turn red, guaranteeing yourself to contain this at the start, you should be good to go on getting another achievement done. Alright, on to the first elite dungeon, starting with the first boss, Sanctum Guardian. We want to get a sub 2 minute 15 kill, and while we're doing that, we'll avoid damage from the water spouts and we'll avoid taking any flame damage. Then we have a special challenge kill where we want to get hit by 10 water spouts and get the kill while 10 Crassians are alive. And let me tell you, that's a long challenge. So let's start with the normal kill. So for the normal kill, I'm going to get my conjures up, start with Split Soul, activate Invoke Death, start with a Bloat, go into a Death Skulls, start building up with some basics, going back for a Living Death, and just trying to Prey Flick these ranged attacks. One trick you can actually do is you can step aside and the ranged attacks won't hit you, but it's easier to focus on just doing good damage and standing still. Tanking some ranged hits is fine. When she does the water spouts, just move from the left side over to the right side, and that's a really easy way to avoid that. As long as we do that the whole fight, we'll get that feat completed. Once you get this flame attack, you'll see the countdown bar. You just want to go to another place in the arena that you're not going to stand, drop it off, and then run back to a safe place in the arena. She'll do the water spout again, so once again we'll just move from left to right, all the while still doing our best damage. And there you have it. Not only do we get a sub 2 minute 15 kill, we also get a sub 130 kill. For the challenge kill, definitely take a yak with a ton of food, extra brews, extra fish, and if you have it, tank armor, because this is going to be a really long kill. We really don't want to spend a lot of our attention attacking the boss. Necromancy is just so powerful, so we really don't need our conjures up. You can use the Phantom Guardian if you want to mitigate some damage, and the Ghost if you want to get a little bit of healing. We'll do our best to grab resonances whenever the Sanctum is doing the melee attack, but like I said, this is going to be about a 10-minute kill. We have to tank 10 water spouts, and they do about 7,000 damage each. When we get the flames, we're going to want to put them in a far away corner, and we're going to want to be stacking them as much as possible. Crassians will only spawn every few cycles, so we're going to have to do like 2 cycles of flames, 2 cycles of spouts, then you'll get the Crassians that spawn. So with these next flames, I'm going to use Barricade, and I'm just going to stack them in this corner. Whenever I have Barricade available, I'll try and stack the flames on top of each other. And whenever I don't have Barricade, I'll just try and put them next to each other, far away in the corner. Again, tanking the water spouts, you can either resonance the melee hit to get some HP back, or you can resonance the water spout to negate the damage. One tip that might be useful if you're counting how many water spouts you're tanking is just to type it in chat. So you take a water spout, type 1 in chat. Tank another one, type 2 in chat. And once you have Crassians that spawn, make sure that you're not attacking them. You don't want to be using anything like Death Skulls or Threads of Fate on the boss, as you might accidentally kill the Crassians, and this will take even longer than it should. So that's really about all the tips I can give you. I'm going to speed through this footage. Again, just make sure that you tank 10 water spouts, keep stacking your flames in the corner, and make absolutely sure that you let 10 Crassians spawn. Sometimes they can stand underneath each other, so you might want to maneuver around the arena to get them to walk out, or you might want to right-click piles and individually count them. So now that I've got 10 Crassians spawned, I'm going to go ahead and kill the Sanctum Guardian now, and I'm going to not use any abilities like Death Skulls or Threads of Fate. Don't want to use any AoE abilities, just use things like Bloat, Weapon Spec, Fingers of Death, and Volley. And you should be good to go. For Masuda, we'll have to get a kill under 5 minutes, and then we'll have to do at least 2 other kills to do a couple different challenges around the Calming Waters buff. For one kill, we'll want to leave 7 Calming Waters alive. For another, we'll want to kill Masuda without gaining any Calming Water buff, so that just means killing water spouts from a distance. And for another, we'll want to kill Masuda with 65% Calming Water buff. So that means killing 13 of the waters right up close to them. As long as you kill a water spout and you're standing right next to it, it'll give you 5% Calming Water buff. I'll get my conjures up. I'll activate Invoke Death, turn on my prayers. You can use Darkness here if you want. It can help reduce some of the melee damage. Command my skeleton. And I'll start with the Death Skulls, building back my abilities. Building back my adrenaline, going for a Living Death. When he does the spin, you can either surge away and maintain your distance. That way you can still do good damage. Or you can just use Devotion and play it safe. Here I'm opting to just keep my distance and try maximizing my Living Death time. And just doing the best damage that I know how to do. Whenever my Living Death runs out, I'll make sure to reapply Bloat. And then I'll Weapon Spec. Just eating up to be safe. He may spin again. So since he spins again this time, I will use Devotion. And that actually gives me a little bit of a chance to do some damage past the normal phasing point. So that'll just make the final phase a little bit faster for me. Once he jumps up in the air, it's time for the waters to spawn. So again, we have 3 achievements based around these. If you wanted to combo 2 of the achievements, I would recommend that you leave 7 waters alive and kill the boss with 0% water buff active. So that just means that when you're killing waters that are near you, do not stand directly next to them. One good strategy for this feat is to stand directly south, as the majority of the waters will spawn on the upper level, and if you're standing all the way south, those waters won't be able to hit you, they're too far away. So that can make the 0% plus the 7 alive feat a fair bit easier. This is time gated and takes an annoying amount of time during regular kills, but it is what it is. We'll fast forward a bit, and then once the phase resumes, just go into another Death Skulls and start unleashing all the stacks that we built. We should be full stacks after the Calming Waters phase, so we can do like double Finger of Death, Bloat, 3-stack Volley, Command Skeleton, all the good Necromancy abilities. You can even use Split Soul if you wanted to speed it up a little more. So I don't think there's value in showing you 2 more full Masuda kills just for the variations on the water buffs, but again, just we'll talk about it a little bit. During the water phase, I recommend to stand all the way south if you're going for the 0% buff and the leave 7 waters alive feat. As you can see, if you kill a water and you're not standing directly close to it, you won't get anything on your buff bar, you won't get any Calming Water buff. But on the other hand, if you stand right up next to a water, then you'll get a 5% water buff. So for the kill Masuda with 65% buff challenge, you'll want to kill 13 of these while standing directly next to them. Other than that, mechanically, absolutely nothing changes, so just a kill as normal. Seryu will want to get a sub 5-minute kill, will want to avoid any shadow hand damage and avoid any tendril damage, and then we'll also want to do a kill where we kill 18 shadows in 6 seconds. We'll get the first 3 achievements over the course of a normal kill, no problem. There's a really easy telegraph to tell when you're about to take shadow damage or take hand damage. So same as usual, summon your conjures, start with Split Soul on this phase, and just do your best damage. Death Skulls, Bloat, building stacks, using stacks, commanding the skeleton, and watching out for the tail on the left. That's the best telegraph for when you're about to take shadow damage. Anytime that tail does this animation where it comes down to the ground and you see a big black circle around it glowing, that's the telegraph that shadow tendrils are about to come from under your feet. So anytime you see the tail activate, just move a few squares away. As far as the shadow hands go, shadow hands will come out of the shadow patches that have the yellow arrow on them, and they'll also occasionally come directly from Seiryu, so they're pretty easy to avoid. They're pretty slow. You just want to walk a few squares away from them. Once you get Seiryu down to 7.2 million HP, it can be good to use Invoke Death before you go up. That'll just save you a little bit of time. Maybe make your one cycle a little bit easier. But before we go up, we're also going to want to delete our conjures. You can do that by just unequipping your offhand or equipping a different offhand. Delete your conjures, and once you get up on the platform, summon new conjures and start doing your best damage you can on the first pillar. On this one I did a Death Skull, activated my conjures, make absolutely sure that you vuln it. If you have Dominion Mines, you definitely want to use Dominion Mines on these. I'm not showing them for the hard tier as maybe players won't have them. But I'm saving my volley stacks for one of the latter pillars. And once I do a little bit of damage, then I'll start going into my Living Death. Ideally, I want to be able to kill 2 pillars before the shadows come and touch Seiryu, healing the crystals. So on the second crystal, I'll just maximize my Living Death. And using all my necrosis abilities, you can see I killed the second pillar with plenty of time. So now the shadows are going to touch Seiryu and heal the crystals. There's going to be 6 hit splats, and while they're doing that, I just want to be building up stacks to unleash everything I have once they're done healing the crystal. Around the time you see the 5th and 6th hit splat, it can be a good time to place more Dominion Mines or launch your Death Skulls. You also want to make sure that you have Split Soul active for this, as your window of time for killing this pillar is a little bit slower than the other 2. But on this third pillar, you should have a handful of stacks from the waiting period, and just unleash all of your best abilities. Weapon Special, Death Skulls, Necrosis stacks. You know the drill by now. For the challenge, to kill 18 shadows in 6 seconds, we won't really have to worry about killing pillars. We're likely going to be doing a 2 cycle, maybe even a 3 cycle if you're slow. So what we can do is just hop up, do as much damage as we can until the shadows start spawning. It can be helpful to bring a very low tier weapon like a tier 1 wand, and then when the shadows start spawning, jump down and start tagging all of the shadows. Once you tag them, they'll be aggressive towards you and not be moving towards Seiryu. You just want to tag them, wait for the other set of shadows to spawn, and once you see 18 of them, you can put on a better weapon and start doing your best AoE abilities. If you're using magic, use like Corruption Blast. If you're using ranged, use Corruption Shot and Chinchampas. If you're using Necromancy, use Threads of Fate and use some powerful abilities. And if you're using melee, make better choices. For Astelarn, we want to get a sub 1 minute 30 kill, and we want to avoid taking 10,000 damage from the rain. That would be incredibly hard to do as it only hits 50. So as long as you're not purposely standing in the rain, you'll get that achievement for free along with the speed timer. For Astelarn, I like to summon my conjures, go in, invoke death, start the fight just with the Death Skulls. He's going to go damage immune pretty soon. We can probably get about 50,000 damage before he goes immune, at which point our goal is just going to be building stacks. I like to stand in line with his nose and this pillar, as it's kind of a dividing line between quadrants in the room. That way, if rain is on one side, I can easily step just 2 tiles to the right or left and be in a safe quadrant. Kill the Pulsar Star when it comes. When Astelarn drops the wormhole, drop it in the center, walk a few squares to the left or right, and usually being in this spot makes it so that Neuron Star spawns are pretty friendly, and it makes it easier to lure them into your black hole. At which point, just start unleashing your best damage. If you wanted to split soul beforehand, you absolutely could, but you get a big damage buff during this phase, so just doing your best abilities should be a really easy speed kill. As you can see, we even got a sub 1 minute kill, and we didn't take too much rain damage, so we completed all the Astelarn feats. Varrock, we want to get a sub 4 minute kill. We want to avoid the dive bomb mechanic. We want to pray flick melee for the pillars. We want to do 2 kills, one where we disperse all bomb damage into the eggs, and the second one where we disperse no bomb damage into the eggs. So easy way to do that one is just to tank the bombs. It's actually a faster method as well in general. The last achievement is for avoiding the flame vortex attack, and that really only happens if your kill is incredibly slow, so we won't even really have to worry about that. If you follow this guide, you'll get a fast kill and you won't even see the flame vortex mechanic. Hopefully an hour into the video, you know what to do by now, but summon the conjures, invoke death, command the ghost, command the skeleton, and once we attack Varrock, always good to start with the Death Skulls, then building back up for the Living Death. I always usually bloat as well. Since I had stacks, I'll go ahead and 3-stack volley there. And just building adrenaline. We're going to get the first pillar attack right around the time we Living Death, so you'll see this message that Veraklith slams his tail against the ground, and that's the point where you want to switch to Prey Melee. As long as you're praying melee when the pillar spawns, you'll get that achievement, no problem. Now that the pillar is dead, just blasting away at Verak with our best abilities until the next special attack comes. The next one is the Egg Bomb. So in one kill, we want to absorb the Egg Bomb and then disperse it into one of the eggs. You don't have to think too much about it. If you get a blue bomb, disperse it into the green eggs. And if you get a green bomb, disperse it into either one of the two blue eggs. You don't really have to worry about frost, shock, or poison. It just makes it unnecessarily complicated. If it's blue, go to green. If it's green, go to blue. Again, when a Spire pops up, make sure you're praying melee. And now that our Living Death has ran out, we're just trying to do our best damage using our Threshold abilities, our Conjure abilities, and our Stack abilities. Once you see the Dive Bomb mechanic, you'll see this red circle on the floor with an arrow pointing towards your character. You can just start running away. If you run like 6-7 tiles away, then there's zero chance that that mechanic will hit you, and there's another achievement that you'll get completed. Again, just doing our best damage, we'll get another pillar attack, pray melee for that one, and focus your attention on the boss again. Once the boss is dead, you'll get yourself a handful of achievements. Blackstone Dragon. We want to get a sub 5-minute 30 kill. We want to do a kill where we do the All Together Now feat for the Shadow Hands, which is where you kill them all within 10 seconds of each other. You want to avoid Shadow Flame damage, you want to avoid Gemstone damage, and you want to avoid Shadow Hand damage. So, as we do, summon the Conjures, life transfer if you want, invoke Death, command the Conjures. Start off with the Death Skulls, bloat if you want, and building back adrenaline. We're not going to be using Living Death until after we kill the hands, so we're going to be doing this whole section with just our best threshold abilities. Once we phase Blackstone Dragon, you want to invoke Death on every single hand. I think it's really good to use bloat on every hand, and using strong abilities, you'll kill them pretty quickly. We're not going to do the All Together Now achievement on this one. We'll do a separate kill just for that. Make sure while you're killing the hands, you're looking out for the shadows that come out, these little hands. Once you see them, you just want to move away a few tiles. They'll only go in a straight line. They won't chase you too aggressively. So very simple to avoid those. Just keep doing the same thing, making your way around the room. These Shadow Blasts are fine to take. There's nothing you can do to dodge those. You can Resonance them if you wanted to get some HP back. But other than those attacks, you're actually safe to Soul Split during the whole duration of the Shadow Hand phase. Once you kill all the hands, we have our Death Skulls back, so we can start with the Death Skulls on Blackstone Dragon and then build back up for a big Living Death rotation. It's unlikely that we'll get a flight skip with this gear, but we'll try our best to do as much damage as we can. Living Death, once you have it available, you can even split soul. It's a good time to do so, and just do your best damage. You want to get Blackstone Dragon to about 250,000 HP, at which point he'll phase into the very famous lore phase. And you can see I've got him phased here at about 2 minutes 20 seconds. Still plenty of time to get that sub 530, even with how long this lore phase is. During this phase, you don't want to go too AFK. We still have an achievement for dodging all of the fire, so just make sure you're playing safe, just running around the room. You could completely avoid Blackstone Dragon and not worry about building stacks, but I often like to build stacks during this time. There's not much better to do, but as long as you're avoiding the flames, running around playing safe, that'll guarantee you that Avoid the Flames damage achievement. After about a minute, Blackstone Dragon will become attackable again, so just want to split soul and do our very best damage. Death Skulls, Bloat, still avoiding the flames. He'll do that flame circle attack that closes in on itself, gets tighter and tighter. So just making sure we're navigating around that safely. And using our strongest abilities, we'll get that sub 530 kill with plenty of time to spare. Next up, I'll show you how to do the All Together Now achievement for the Blackstone hands. I like to deathmark and bloat each one of the hands, just going around in a circle. That way I'm not focusing too much attention on one hand and letting passive damage from the bloat accidentally trigger the deathmark. I like to keep all the hands within a relatively similar HP range. You can see even though we only did a couple abilities on that first hand, the HP is just dropping really rapidly. So I made my way around, done a death mark to all 4 of the hands. Now I can start just trying to whittle them down a little bit. Bring their HP closer to 25,000 would be a good point in my opinion. Making sure I have stacks, and then I can do big hitting abilities to really quickly finish each hand. So when I finish this first hand, I'll want to do that with basics and then save my biggest hitting abilities for the next 3 hands. So killed the first hand, killed the second hand with a big finger of death, 3-stack volley on the third hand to kill that one, and then save your weapon spec for the 4th hand would be better than what I did here. But 10 seconds is actually a lot of time, so if you followed this, should be pretty simple to get that in 1 or 2 tries. Time for Elite Dungeon 3 with the Crassian Leviathan. First off, we want to get a sub 2 minute 30 kill. Then we want to do a couple gimmicks where we tank 30,000 damage from a head swipe attack. We want to do a kill after getting the Crassian Leviathan down below half HP and just waiting until he regenerates all the way back up to full HP. And we also want to do a kill where we do not do any poison damage. So make sure you're not wearing Cinderbane gloves, not drinking weapon poison, and if you're using Necromancy, do not summon a zombie for that feat. Let's start with a 2 minute 30 kill, and let's combo that with the no poison damage one. So I'll only summon my ghost and my skeleton, and then I'll do the same as usual. Invoke death, command the ghost, command the skeleton. Make sure that you didn't drink weapon poison or you won't qualify for that feat. And even though we're sacrificing poison damage, we'll still get a sub 2 minute 30 kill. So avoiding the head slam attacks and just doing our best damage. Once we get to full adrenaline, use Living Death and start using Living Death the best you know how. Split soul when it's available. That'll speed things up even more. And blast away with your necrosis abilities. 6 stacks for a Finger of Death. Death Skulls every time that's available. And auto attacks in between. Still avoiding his head slam attacks, just doing our best damage. With this gear, as you can see, I was just shy of being able to kill him in 1 cycle, about 1,000 HP away. So since I didn't kill him in the 1 cycle, I'll just have to Bladed Dive and surge over to the other side and kill him that way. If you did that, you'll get the speed kill, and you've done it without doing any poison damage either, so 2 feats for the price of 1. We want to do everything as normal. We probably don't want to use poison damage for the first portion of this fight, as poison slows down his HP regeneration. So bring him down to half HP as best you can. And when he's doing head slam attacks, you actually want to stand on the side of the head slam attack. You can tank it by using Vitality Potion. You can also use some defensives like Barricade, and it should still count for the feat as long as you're taking 30,000 damage worth of attacks. This kill is long enough that you'll have plenty of time. You'll even have times where your Vitality Potion will come back off of cooldown, so you can do several cycles of tanking the head slam attacks with your Vitality Potion active. If you're nervous about Spaghetti Code and you don't trust that it counts under Barricade, you can still do this while taking the actual damage. Just make sure you have extra food to eat back up to full in between head slam attacks. I brought Jellyfish, which probably wasn't the smartest choice. I should have brought solid food like Sailfish, but even then, I still managed just fine. I have my Enhanced Excalibur for some extra healing. And once I got Krasian Leviathan down below half HP, this is the point where you want to start AFKing. Just stop doing any damage to him. Just make sure you're avoiding avoidable damage. In your chat box, you should see the point when you're eligible for the Get Shredded feat. So once you have that, you won't need to worry about tanking 30k damage from his head slams, and you can just focus on AFKing and letting him regenerate up to full HP. It takes a few minutes, so I'll just speed through this footage a little bit. Just make 100% sure you let him get all the way back up to full HP, and then it's just doing a normal kill. As you can see, it took me just about 8 minutes for that one. Teraket. We want to get a sub 4-minute kill. We want to get a kill where the bloat is still alive, and we want to get a kill where the carrier is still alive. That could be done in 2 kills, but you could also combo that with an elite achievement called Tank and Spank, where you just leave both of those zombies alive. And I think that's actually the easier method, even for the hards. You also want to get an achievement where you ignore the skeleton portal and just let that explode, but that achievement will pair nicely with the kill 15 skeletons in 6 seconds achievement. Summon your conjures, invoke death, make sure you have an aura on. And I like to split soul at the start of this phase. We have to do a good bit of damage, and we don't want to use our living death for the first portion. We want to save that for the end portion where everything is getting chaotic. So split souling now is an easy way to do some good damage in the beginning. We want to get him down below 200,000 HP. And for the purposes of this kill, I will kill the portal, but if you wanted to combo that achievement right away, you could just leave this portal alive, let it explode, and it'll hit you for a few thousand damage. Like I said, you can see how many skeletons spawn out of that one, so it can be pretty convenient for the kill 15 skeletons achievement as well. Once the bloat spawns, I'm not actually too worried about him. I can just tank through him pretty fine, especially if you have darkness active. That'll save you a lot of damage. And just focus your attentions on Teraket, bringing him back below 200,000 HP as quickly as we can. If you stand on either side of him, he'll actually block him. It doesn't save any time or anything, it just makes it more convenient. You don't have to go chasing him down on the opposite sides of the arena. But once the corpse carrier spawns, same thing as the bloat, I'm just going to leave him alive and keep my attentions on Teraket. At this point I can re-vuln and just want to chomp through as many jellyfish as I can. Really good time to use Excalibur during this phase. And once you have adrenaline for it, living death, and just do your best damage you can on Teraket. I'm getting hit pretty hard in this case, so I living death pretty late. But as you can see, we still manage. Get our death skulls off, and since we have so many targets around us, it can be good to Threads of Fate here. We can do Threads of Fate, Soul Sap, Volley, and some big abilities. That'll give us a lot of HP if we're soul splitting, and we'll also do a lot of damage to Teraket. Just want to show off the method for letting the rift spawn and for killing all the skeletons in a short amount of time. You just let the rift timer run out. It'll explode, it'll do a few thousand damage on the player. You could barricade if you wanted to completely mitigate the damage, and you'll have a bunch of skeletons alive, at which point you can just use Threads of Fate and clear up those guys really quickly. If you're using magic, you can also use things like Greater Chain with Caroming and Corruption Blast or Magma Tempest, and that's another way to clear those skeletons really quickly. If for any reason there weren't enough skeletons from the portal, you just want to wait until the corpse carrier spawns. And if you're still really nervous about it, you could even wait until the corpse carrier spawns and wait out until another portal spawn happens. Then there'll just be a ton of skeletons around to kill. Ambassador. All we need for the hard tiers is to get a sub 6 minute kill. So to do that, I'm going to summon my conjures, invoke death, command ghost, command skeleton, and start off with a death skulls. Just doing the same thing I always do with necromancy, starting with death skulls, doing a bloat, and building back up to a living death. I'll living death, maintaining my ranged prayer flicks, and start doing the best living death that I can do. So touch of death, skulls, and blasting away with Necrosis abilities. Switching to pray magic for that blue bomb attack, and when I have the countdown bar above my head, that means I'm going to be placing a smoke under my feet, or this smoky fire. And once it counts down all the way, just wait an extra second, and then walk away so that you're not standing in the smoke. When he summons a black hole, just turn your attention to that and use a stunning ability, in this case Soul Strike. Weapon Special would also work, but ideally you'd be saving that for Ambassador himself. I managed to do pretty good damage with my Living Death and my Split Soul, got him down to a pretty good phasing HP of around 650,000 HP, at which point it's time for spinners. It can be really helpful to use Target Cycle and start damaging this spinner early. I think it's good to bloat every single spinner that you can. If you have flanking, like I do on my tier 90 weapons, it's really strong against these spinners. You can do Soul Sap and then Soul Strike, and all your Soul Strikes will hit about 10,000 to 11,000 damage. So it's really huge for clearing these really quickly. You can also invoke death on them, and that'll just increase your odds at killing all of the spinners before it's time to attack Ambassador again. Just going around the room, using our best abilities. In my case, it's the flanking ability. There we go, killed all the spinners. And now we can just refocus on Ambassador. We'll do a similar thing we did at the start. So we'll just do the first portion with the Death Skulls, unleashing some of our stack abilities, and building back up to a Living Death. I have 10 seconds on my Adrenaline Potion here, so I'm going to wait it out a little bit, do a few extra abilities before I do my Living Death. Same things before, just dealing with the mechanics, placing the smokes in places where it won't bother me and I still have access to attacking the Ambassador, and when black holes spawn, just turning my attention to those briefly and using a stunning ability like Soul Strike. In this case, I wasn't actually thinking about it, but flanking didn't allow it to stun, so I ended up taking the explosion attack, but as you can see, it's perfectly fine. It does about 7,000 damage, but if you're full HP and you have plenty of food, even that's not something to worry about. So just doing my best damage throughout the fight. Once it comes to the final phase, Seru will heal you to full, which is really convenient. And then we want to be going around the arena, preventing Ambassador from taking these white smokes that heal him. As long as we're standing in between the smokes and Ambassador, they'll turn into black smokes and they will not heal him. So we can just kind of make our way around the arena. When he calls out our name and the arena turns red, we want to switch to Pray Magic and use Devotion. That'll keep us safe from all of those big hitting abilities. We can even walk underneath Ambassador, spam click under him, and use Flanking 3 times, which is really powerful. But there you have it. All we needed to do for hard combat achievements was to get a sub 6 minute kill, and as you can see, we got about a 3:33. Kalphite King, we want to get a sub 1 minute kill in a team size of 2 or fewer. We want to avoid the charge attack, avoid the dig attack, avoid the insta-kill attack, and avoid taking any bomb damage. All of which are really easy to do if you're getting a 1 minute kill. So I did this with my friend Saus. In the examine, I examined him when he was using ranged gear, but he's using Necromancy here as well. So we just enter, do our conjures. If you have Lord of Bones, it can be really good to do on Kalphite King. That'll just increase your hit chance. Go into Living Death right away and split souling, and just unleashing your best abilities from the get-go. We got a minute to do our best damage, so just Death Skulls, Bloat, and blasting away with Necrosis abilities. So long as he doesn't spawn in Mage phase, he won't be sending out any magic bombs, so that achievement is completely free. Here you can see he insta-kills my friend, so I just Voke him, switch to Pray Melee and Devotion. That avoids the insta-kill attack and gives us that achievement. And we killed it so fast, he didn't even have time to do any digs or any charges. So very easy to get all the Kalphite achievements in one go. On to the Sanctum of Rebirth, starting with Vermix. We want to get a sub 3 minute 30 kill. We want to avoid taking Moonstone damage, avoid taking Wormfire damage. We want to successfully redirect all of the souls. We want to prevent the Scarab from reaching Vermix in the final phase. And we want to leave all 4 of the coil spawns alive. So essentially just doing a standard kill. You should be doing all of these normally. At the start, as always, I'll do my conjures, invoke death, and command my conjures. I'll start with a split soul and do a Death Skulls and Bloat, and then building back some adrenaline. We have to get the boss to 300k HP before he goes into the first phase with the redirecting the souls. If you get the message where shards of moonstones will spawn under your feet, just make sure you're moving away. You'll see they're telegraphed, so as long as you're not standing in the same square, you won't be taking damage from those and you'll complete that achievement. For the redirecting the souls achievement, you just want to be entering the boxes as they spawn. So once you see the boxes, click on them and stay in them until you see the message that you absorbed the soul. Leave the coil spawn alive. You can build adrenaline on him, but make sure you don't kill him. We want to leave all 4 of them alive. And then once you redirect all 3 of the souls, go back to the middle and turn your attention onto Vermix. We'll avoid the worm fire as you see that coil spawn is shooting worm fire on the left, but since we're not in the area, it won't affect us at all. Keep doing damage to Vermix until you bring him down to 200,000 HP, and then we'll just repeat the same thing but on the right hand side. Avoid moonstone shards under your feet if they spawn, and then we want to focus on redirecting the souls. So again, click on the boxes to enter them and wait until you see the message that the souls are redirected. If the souls are too far away from the coil spawn, don't worry about building adrenaline on them, but it's a good time to living death here and build some adrenaline for the final phase. Get out of the area of effect of Wormfire, focus on the middle again, focus on Vermix, and now just unleash your best abilities. We should be killing it fast enough that the Scarab won't have any time to get near Vermix, but the Scarab does spawn here for me, so if it does for you and you think you're not going to kill Vermix in time, you could just turn to the Scarab and use a stunning ability. But as you can see, we killed the boss quickly enough that it didn't really affect us. And there's all the hard achievements for Vermix completed. Kezalam, we want to get a sub 4 minute 30 kill, we want to avoid the soul bomb attacks, and we want to prevent the Scarab blast from happening. So when Scarab spawn, we're going to use a stunning ability on those guys. For the sub 4 minute 30 kill, I'll start with a split soul at the start of this phase. Make sure you vuln bomb the boss, always a good thing to do. And just use your best abilities. Disculls, bloat, I even use a weapon special here. And just building back some adrenaline. We're going to want to save our living death for the middle phase. I think that's the best time to use it. And just doing good damage on Kezalam. When you see that countdown bar above your head get to full, you'll want to use a freedom ability or an anticipation ability beforehand. That way you're not stunned in this moonstone prison. And just turn your attention to killing one of the shards quickly and walking out of the range of the blast. As long as you can do that every time that happens to you during the kill, you'll get that achievement completed. Refocus on damaging Kezalam, bringing him down to 400,000 HP, at which point you want to turn your attention to the Moonstone Obelisk. Really good to invoke death on these and do your strong hitting abilities. So we can kill that pretty quickly and start focusing on Kezalam once again. I like to living death at this point in the fight and do my best living death rotation, so touch of death, death skulls, and blasting away with necrosis. When he does these soul bomb attacks, you just want to step away from the telegraphed area and then step back out. Nice and easy in normal mode, you have plenty of time to deal with this. Keep damaging Kezalam, bringing him down to 200,000 HP. In this kill I actually didn't get any Scarab spawns because I killed it fast enough, but if you did, you just want to turn your attention to the Scarabs, use Soul Sap and Soul Strike, or your weapon special attack if you're in a panic, and that'll kill those 2 Scarabs, they won't explode, and you'll get that achievement completed. After killing the pillar, you may get one more of these Moonstone prisons. Same thing as before, freedom or anticipate to not get stunned, kill one of the pillars on the side, and walk out of range of the blast attack. Then just focus your best damage on Kezalam. Keep avoiding the telegraphed attacks that show up on the floor. And then when you kill the boss, that should be all of the Kezalam hard achievements completed. Nikatra. All we need to do for the hard tasks are to get a sub 6 minute kill and to avoid all of the soul fire damage. So that's basically all of the telegraphed attacks on the floor. Same thing as always with Necromancy, summon the Conjurers, invoke death. If you have Lord of Bones, you can Lord of Bones for Nikatra, it's pretty good. And then I will do Split Soul and Command Skeleton and start the fight with a Living Death. I like to come to this left side golden square as it puts you one tile away from dodging mechanics. So you can see I can just step one tile to my left and then step one tile back onto the golden square. Just doing my best damage in my living death. And for this obliterate attack, there's no special achievements around this, so you can just tank it however it's comfortable. If you want to use resonance, if you want to use devotion and pray magic, if you want to use a disruption shield, whatever your preference is, it's all good. You can even just tank it and you'll still live, as long as you're praying magic. You'll get another prepare for death shortly afterwards. This one I opted to just tank. It does about 6,000 damage. Again, stepping one tile away to dodge mechanics. So just doing my best damage. Looks like I'll get a scarab skip. It's also right around the time that I phase into Nephthys phase, so for each Nephthys I like to invoke death, vuln them, and just do some big hitting abilities. Build some stacks, use bloat on both of them, always a really good thing to do, does so much damage. Once you kill the first one, make your way over to the second one, still avoiding those soulfire attacks on the floor. And this second one will probably heal before you can kill it, but that's no problem. We'll just have to use a few extra basic abilities, and we'll kill it no problem. We have a few seconds to do a little extra damage on the Katra here, so you can use like a weapon special attack or a volley if you had some stacks, and then we'll be going into the realm. In the realm, activate the storm clouds to summon the Salwa Ox, and then you can use Threads of Fate and just do a couple abilities. You can use volley if you want to go fast, you can use bloat and some basics. And here I'm opting to resummon my conjures and just build up to full adrenaline on the gorillas. Take note of which runes you have. So I want to go to the rune that was not shown, and then now I just want to start doing my very best damage I can on the Katra. So living death, split soul at some point, and just blast away. I find the timing of dodging this soulfire attack very weird in normal mode. I'm not used to it compared to hard mode. It's a strange complaint, but it feels so slow that I'm just really not used to it compared to the faster version in hard mode. So what I opted to do, when the lines were coming, I would surge all the way to the far back side of the arena. And whenever that first explosion went off, I would bladed dive back close to Nakatra. And for the second cycle, again, I would go to the very edge of the arena. And then when that first cycle exploded, then I would turn back facing Nakatra and surge back into the middle. It's very weird for normal mode, definitely not pretty. I much prefer the hard mode timing, but it worked. And then I have plenty of time to do damage before I have to worry about that attack again, so unleashing all of my stacks in the Katra, we get the kill with plenty of time to spare. We needed a sub 6 minute, and we ended up getting a sub 3:30. Alright, the Magister. We want to get a sub 45-second kills. We want to do a kill where we avoid the bomb that he throws. It's kind of like a little vial grenade. And we want to do a kill where we throw back his grenade at him. We want to do a kill where we kill him with 50% corruption buff active. And we want to do a kill where we cancel his soul siphon attack. That's the attack where he looks like he's doing the asphyxiate animation. So, on to the speed kill. It should be very free with Necromancy. Magister is only 200,000 HP, and Necromancy is so powerful. So we're just living death, split soul, and just start doing our best damage. We'll do things like Death Skulls, and just blast away with Necrosis abilities. You can see how big the hits are on Magister. We also have this corruption buff that will basically just passively increase our damage on the boss. You do want to watch out though if he throws a grenade at you. He didn't in this kill, but you could either just step away from that or not seeing it at all also completes the achievement for that. It's good to bring multiple keys with you in your inventory, that way you can just, since these kills are so fast, it's probably going to take 5 or 6 to see all the mechanics. For a lot of these, I thought it was easier to just AFK until Magister did mechanics. So you can see I was just kind of AFKing in this kill. He says dodge this, and that's when he throws out his grenade. So easy way to get this achievement is to step behind it so that when you're kicking it in the direction of Magister. As you can see, Magister is south, so I step to the north of the grenade. And then just click it. and that'll kick it back at Magister, exploding him for 4,000 damage. Then you should see in your chat box that you're eligible for the I think you forgot something achievement. That's how you know you've done that correctly. For the 50% corruption achievement, you just want to AFK again. I did this in the third phase. That's when he starts doing corruption attacks more frequently. And you can see on my buff bar this green buff here that just keeps going up slowly but surely. Just AFK, make sure you have plenty of food to eat through, and just wait until that buff caps out at 50%. Once it gets to 50%, just kill the boss. And lastly, the achievement to interrupt his Soul Siphon. So he does the Soul Siphon. It looks like he's using the Asphyxiate ability with magic, where he sticks his arms straight out ahead, and he's got his staff behind him. I had to AFK quite a while for this one, but all I was doing was I was just focusing until I saw that animation, and as soon as I would see that animation, I would want to bladed dive and surge as far away as possible. That will interrupt his attack. Another way of interrupting his attack is by using melee and using a melee threshold ability, but since I'm using necromancy, the easiest way was just to surge dive away. And you should see in your chat box you're now eligible for the achievement, at which point just kill the boss. Barrows rise to the 6. You want to get a sub 1 minute kill. You want to avoid all 3 of Carol's special mechanics, that being his lightning, his bomb, and his helicopter spin attack. You want to avoid getting Torag hammered. You want to avoid Varroc's helicopter attack. You want to avoid getting speared by Guthan. And you want to do 6 different kills, one where you leave each brother for last. The easiest way I recommend to get the sub 1 minute kill and get all of the avoid achievements at once is to go with 4 players, use Split Soul, Invoke Death, Threads of Fate, and tier 90 weapon spec. You have Split Soul active, your weapon special attack is usually going to do very close to 30,000 damage. You have 2 players doing that, there's only 50,000 damage to do, and you have Invoke Death, making it even less. So with 2 players on each side, you're easily going to be overkilling them with just 1 ability. I actually went with 2 of my friends. We couldn't find a 4th player, so I ended up soloing side. What they did on their side was, like I said, Invoke Death, Threads of Fate, and Weapon Spec. That kills their side instantly. On my side, as the solo player, I would do Split Soul, Invoke Death, Threads of Fate. I would do Touch to build a few stacks, tier 95 weapon special attack, and then tier 90 special attack. And as you can see, everything just dies. You get no mechanics to avoid, so you get all of the avoid achievements at once. And the kill is so fast, you get all of the speed kill achievements too. As you can see, we got a 5.4 second kill there, so nice and easy. And my friends actually got shields, which is really cool. Alright, for Kerapac, we're going to need to get a sub 3 minute kill. We don't want him to shoot out any portals, so we're going to do the walk under method. We don't want to take any damage from his jumping attack. We don't want to take any damage from the lightning, and we do not want to use the action button, so we're not going to be doing time warp in this kill. So, once you're in the instance, go ahead and summon your conjurers. You can life transfer, dive surge over, invoke death, and then I'm going to split soul at the start, and then skeleton. Start with the death skulls. I usually like to bloat afterwards, and then now I'm just going to build back up with some basics. We're going to be building up with basics the rest of this phase until we get to Living Death. When he says his voice line, we want to click under him and spam click under him so that as we do abilities, we're still staying under and we do not risk summoning any of the portals. So continue doing some damage. I can use my necrosis, and as you see, we got no jumps there, so that makes the other feat really easy. I'll go ahead and use Living Death into a Death Skulls, and we're just going to make sure that we're avoiding the Time Warp button. So just making the best uses I can of my necrosis abilities. When he says the voice line, click underneath him. There's Death Skulls number 2, and we're pretty close to phasing him here. So just going to keep building up necrosis stacks for the final phase, or penultimate phase I should say. I will split soul on this phase. I'll reapply a Vuln Bomb, go into another Death Skulls, command my skeleton. He's going to say the voice line again, so I want to make sure to click under him and just keep doing damage. Couple more big finger attacks, resummon my conjurers for the final phase. I'll do a bloat, 3 stack volley, skeleton spec, and weapon spec, and that should kill it. well under the 3-minute threshold that we were looking for.
Let me die!
So if you manage to do something similar, we've now completed all of the Kerapac achievements for the hard tier. Now for Araxxor. We're going to want to get a sub 5-minute kill. We want to avoid taking any damage from cleave, and we want to avoid any unnecessary damage from the cocoon attack. So the best way to do that is to constantly be under the effects of anticipation or freedom. That way, if you do get cocooned, when you're spam clicking, you can effectively instantly break out of the cocoon, and you won't take any unnecessary damage that way. Then we have the 40% acid challenge and a 90% acid challenge. The first one, we want to do essentially just the normal Araxxor kill, where we absorb about 55 to 60% acidity and let him break the path as normal. And the second one, where we want to just AFK with him in the pool and let him fully absorb all of the acid. Lastly, we'll want a kill at 100% enrage, which just means doing 5 kills in one day. And then we'll want to do the no light challenge, which is where we do the bottom path, but instead of going to the safety of the lights that show up in the path, we're just going to stay in the darkness and tank through the damage that we take. So while we're doing Araxxor, I always think it's a good time to anticipate right at the start of the kill. As you can see, we got a cocoon, and we broke out nearly instantly, so we didn't take any unnecessary damage. We take the base bleed, but so long as you see that the bleed does not increase in damage, you'll get the achievement completed. So to explain that further, you saw I was taking like 200 damage per hit of the bleed, but if I was staying in the cocoon for too long and that damage started escalating, say it went to 240, 260, then that would disqualify me from completing the feat. So I'll go ahead and anticipate again here. You never know what the next spec could be. It's a cleave, so avoiding that cleave is what we want to do throughout the whole kill, and that way we'll get that feat completed as well. Another good time to throw up one of those abilities. I'll throw up a freedom, and he goes into his web. That's fine. So we'll do the first challenge here, which is essentially to do a normal kill. We'll let him absorb about 55%, maybe 60% of the acid, leaving 40% in the pool. Hence the name of the challenge. So we'll just do some damage and wait for him to absorb all that acidity. Do another anticipation, just preemptively in case you get a cocoon or a cleave, and then you can avoid that nice and easy. It does take a while. I'll probably tank through the spiders. That's not a big deal, and we've got 58% acidity there. So we should be good to clear the platform. Just want to make sure we're watching out for insta-kill spiders. There's one there. It's a slow one, so I don't think it'll get to us. Dodged another cleave there just by surging through him. And now we'll just proceed with the kill essentially as normal. Can always do another anticipation as well. And just doing my best abilities. Building some stacks. Once I have 3 stacks, I can do a big volley. Once I have a good amount of necrosis stacks, I can do big finger blasts. And there we go, phase him into the final phase. There is another combat achievement in this phase for prayer flicking correctly. So it really is as simple as that. You just want to make sure that you're prayer flicking correctly. The green acid hits are magic hits, and the kind of gray rock looking hits are ranged hits. So there's a range hit, pray range, pray magic, praying range there, into magic, avoid the cleave, praying ranged, and there you go. That'll complete a whole handful of Araxxor achievements, leaving us with only 2 to go. Now we need to do one more kill on the acid path, where we let him fully absorb the acidity, and then we'll do 1 kill on the light path, where we tank through all the darkness damage. This time in phase 2, we're just going to spend a lot of time AFKing. We got to let him absorb essentially all of the acid. It'll take long enough that you really don't have to be too precise with your abilities at all. You could probably just do auto attacks, and you would phase him down 100k HP by the time he absorbs all the acid. Now we can see Araxxor has absorbed the majority of the acid. So long as we leave no more than 10% in the pool, we'll be good to go for this achievement. So you can tell by that number underneath this countdown bar, we've left 5% acidity in the pool, so that's below that 10 threshold. We're good to go. Now that we've done that, we can just kill the boss as normal. Well, that was cool. I accidentally got the phase 4 skip. We'll have to talk about that when we get to the higher tiers of achievements, but nice to see it on video. For this darkness achievement, once you get into the darkness tunnel, I like hugging this right side wall. I've never really seen any light patches spawning on this right hand side, so you should be safe. You have to tank this for about a minute until he comes to cleave through the wall, and after that it's just going to be a kill as normal, so make sure you have a yak full of extra food and you should be good to go. Rasial, you want to get a sub 2 minute 30 kill, and you want to avoid taking damage from the ghost wall attack. For Rasial, I like to summon my conjurers outside, then enter the instance. Go ahead and surge up north, and then start the fight with the Death Skulls, just doing your best damage, get a bloat off as well, and then building back adrenaline for a living death. You really don't have to do any fancy rotations. Sub 2 minute 30 is a lot of leeway for this achievement, even with this basic gear. So in the middle of my living death, I'll split soul at some point, and just do my best damage with my necrosis abilities. Honestly, I really don't have a lot of tips for Rasial. You could probably just revo this and still get a 2 minute 30 kill. And once the ghost wall starts showing up, just play it safe. Just walk far away from them and you won't take any damage from those. Nice and easy. Once you get Rasial down to 200,000 HP, he'll be in the final phase, and so long as you get the kill, you'll get all of the hard achievements completed. I just run around kind of in a box, just run around a bit like a headless chicken and just do as much damage as I can. When it comes to the later tiers, we'll have to be more precise with this and do better damage, but for the hard achievements, this is really all you have to do. Har-Aken. For the hard achievements, you want to get a sub 40 minute kill, and you want to not kill any tentacles. Before you start the fight, you could also right click the door and toggle the cutscenes, as well as toggle the spawn speed. So you want to toggle cutscenes off and toggle the spawn speed on to fast. That'll save you a little bit of time as well. Similar to fight caves, one of the best tips I can share with you is you want to move actively towards any monsters. You don't want to wait in the middle or wait in any safe spots and wait for all the monsters to come to you. That just takes way too long. So actively be moving in between the monsters. Use your good abilities. You know the best ones by now, 2 hours into the video. Bloat. And any of your stack abilities are really good. Command Skeleton is really good. Weapon Special Attack is really good. There's not going to be a whole lot of opportunity to use Death Skulls during the waves of the fight, as monsters won't really stack until the later melee waves. So my number one tip is just to be moving actively in between the monsters. Since this video is already so long, I'll just leave the raw footage of my fight kiln up, and I'll leave a timestamp to skip ahead to for the Har-Aken portion. So if you want to see how I cleared any of the waves, feel free to use this as reference. Once you get to Har-Aken, you don't want to kill any of the tentacles, so you want to be careful with your conjures as they might start attacking a tentacle. I noticed this myself, and I quickly deleted my conjures by unequipping my offhand. So pretty much just AFK until Har-Aken spawns, at which point I summon my conjures again, Living Death, Split Soul, Invoke Death, and just do your best damage on Har-Aken. You do not want to use Death Skulls, just to be 100% safe that you don't accidentally kill a tentacle. And then as you do with Necromancy, just blast away with your best abilities. That should be plenty to kill the boss in one cycle, not kill any tentacles, and we had so much time to spare that we even got the elite achievement for killing the boss in under 30 minutes. And that completed all of the hard combat achievements for me. So that's all of the hard combat mastery achievements completed. I hope you enjoyed this really long video. Please subscribe as I'll be making a video just like this completing every single achievement in every single tier. We got through the easies, mediums, and hard, so now it's time to really start having some fun. See you in the elite tier.